Gordon's going to do our demonstration tonight on Twig pots.
Can you hear it? Oh, yeah, I can hear it. Three or 4 years ago at SWAT, a man by the name of George Hatfield. Some people know him. I think he's a excellent turner from Australia. And he met with another person called Todd Raines, who was a demonstrator at Wendy Nave's on hands turning. I took one of his classes just to take something, and it looked interesting for a whimsical thing. And he had come up with a way to turn what's called bud vases. Bud vases usually have a glass insert, and you can put a live flower in it and a little bit of water, and it looks pretty. They're also called weed pots and twig pots and all kinds of other names. Those usually have dry flowers or dried things in them. You make a good one. The weed pots, weed pots are very simple to make. That's why I got into it. I liked it. But it's a good spindle turning project. They can be used as gifts. Pretty good for craft sales or craft sales. One of the things that's come up recently, Jim Desbro found out from when he went to the SWAT directors meeting, that there's one club, the Waco Club, is looking for table decorations that end up being your something you can win and take home. So they want to make 300 table decorations. These little weed pots are perfect for that. This is exactly what they're looking for, and maybe we can take on a project of making some of these to contribute to the SWAT program. Something as a challenge, something easy to do. Make 4 or 5 of these. Doesn't take, it takes about an hour to make one, maybe a little over an hour, depending on how you finish it. And so something to think about anyway. Bud vases normally are, give or take 1.5 to 1.75 inches by 4.5, 5 inches. They have a hole in them. If I can get this out. Well, I just broke it. Anyway, a little test tube goes in, and use that for putting water in a plant. But this is drilled for that. Pardon? Well, let's do that right now. Everybody, here's a bunch of them. I bought 72 of them from Amazon, and it was like $20. So you can make a lot of weed pots. Pass this around, and everybody take one out for your first weed pot. Oh yeah. Another thing to pass around here is I've made a bunch of small weed pots for play. I've given some away, but I've got some that are almost finished. The bottom hadn't come off yet, where it hooks onto the chuck. But some of them have been finished and cleaned up. If you want to look for some examples, just to see, here's one that was kind of a challenge for me, is to make a segmented one. Every time I glued that top part on, it came off when I drilled it. So I finally figured out a way to do that. But anyway, something you can look at and see what opportunities there are to design a pot. Todd Raines as I said, is on YouTube. He has a YouTube website, sells turning tools and so on, but he also does instructional work. And this is the plans for the weed pot that he taught when I took his class at down at Wendy and Abe's down in Kingsville. There were several of us that went down there, and I don't know if anybody else did it, the weed pot, but I didn't print a bunch of these up. I ran out of cartridge ink, so I finished that. Anybody wants a copy of this, I'll print them or send you the copy in an email if you'll give me your email tonight.
Did you get that off the website?
No, I got it from Todd Raines. It's not on the website, has it, but it has prints this much and a little commercial and this much and a commercial and so on. So this one, I have the as such original, and if you want a copy, I'll send you the. I'll have to get his permission for that. Get rid of these. Well, we'll send one around for now so you can see whether you want it or not.
You want it back?
Whoever fights over it and wins gets it. Maybe we'll put it in the drawing. Anyway, it's a project that's fun to experiment with, to do different woods, see how they work out for it. I've done a couple that I will not use for weed pots anymore. Very, very porous woods. Ash I found was a very bad wood to use because it had so much different texture grains in it. And it didn't work. You couldn't cut it smooth even with a skew, so I had trouble with that. Pardon? I haven't used any. This was just plain old baseball bat ash. Got a chunk out here and use it. Materials that we normally use. Start out with a square or whatever piece of wood you have, whether it's a piece of log or whatever. Turn it round. This is that ash I'll show you in a minute. And then the next step on that is to, where you can feel how that was done with a skew. Next step is to, I'll use this one. Is to put the wood on, normally between centers, best way. I like using cup centers. They just seem to, they give you they're more forgiving. Not a hole there. They're more forgiving. If you get a catch, they'll just slip on you and keep on going. And also use a steb center. Again, it's forgiving if you get a catch. A steb center, all it is how many people know what a steb center is? Okay, good. Steb center, all it is a cup center, but it has little teeth on it that if you get a catch, it will hold it until a certain point and then it'll just slip and you'll save the wood. It also has a spring-loaded point in it, so that when it goes into the wood, if you can see the gap, you push, it goes in, but it goes back into here. It doesn't go into the end of the wood. Everybody see what I was talking about there? Anyway, you can see it has a give to it, spring-loaded. The next step, once you've turned it around, is to put a tenon on it for whatever chuck you're going to use, because the first step requires, for safety, for strength, and so on, using a tenon. How you do your tenons, everybody does them differently. I've found luck with the skew, because the skew has an angle to it, which means you want a little bit of an angle on the dovetail. So this works good. Well, come on. Yeah, probably want to do. Normally, this is. This is just a peeling cut, and just if you can see it, but it also puts the angle for the dovetail anyway, for the jaws on the clip. Once that's done, the next step is to put it the way you're going to use it for turning and shaping. This, excuse me. Yeah, no, it's a dry throat. Here comes my water boy, girl.
Y'all don't see them.
Don't need that. After you clean this up, which it's already been done, it's time to drill the hole in it. Hope that'll reach, I think. As you'll find out when you get your copy of the instructions, the drill is a 11 by 30 second, or 13 by 30 second drill bit, and you drill it for 3 1/4 inches, which allows room for the tube. So we'll do that real quick. Forget about those short throw on this lathe. Oh. All right. Now then, once we've got that, we can use a regular live center with a cone, which goes in the hole to do the final centering of it. They give you strength while you're cutting. I need one of those bud vases, wherever they ended up, and also something else. Oh, the tubes. No, well, that's all right. Very good. Before you go too far, make sure the tube's going to fit, because they do. I had one, I left them overnight in the garage, and the wood changed shape and the tubes didn't go in. Now then, we're going to plan what we're going to do. We've got several transitions. One is, of course, the lip of the bottle or the vase or the whatever. You want to have that, give or take, about 3/4 of an inch as a proportional process. Then the next desire is to go from that point to that point. Hopefully, I didn't do a very good job on this one, but have just a steady curve, a steady flow. Not this one goes down and then it goes flat for a while, and I didn't figure that out till after about 20 of these things. No, that's not yours. Yours is in the raffle for tonight. I don't know if you're, yeah, okay, good. That's roughly the marks that we want to have, if you're still showing it good. This is roughly where the top part comes to the first bead, if you want to look at that. Then the curved part will be this from to here, and then this is the kind of the maximum point here, and then the final line is where we'll cut it off. Normally you leave it like that one is, and then just with a parting tool we'll part it off to a certain point, and then I like cutting them off with a saw. To get rid of some wood, we'll use this. This is just a spindle roughing gouge. Well, you get spoiled when you get variable speed. Off and on, huh? Well, shuckins. Pardon?
It seems like it's a lot harder to change than most of them.
This one's,
Especially under pressure with everybody watching. This is how you change the belt. Ron will watch Gordon as he demonstrates live.
if I remember. There we go. Better. I'm fast. Big first thing I want to do now when it's getting close is to mark.
I'll be your tool.
Okay. Mark where we're going to cut this thing off. When you're parting this bottom part, the part against the actual bottom, you want to turn your parting tool just a little bit so you start to form a what's that, concave bottom, so it'll sit better, and it'll help when you do the final finishing. Now this is where spindle detail spindle gouge is, kind of helps do the final cutting. Well, go down. One of the things to be careful of at this point, I've heard, I don't know for a fact, is that, remember, we've cut that at a 13/30 seconds, which is not quite a half an inch. You've got wood on either side of it, but if you take too much wood, you can get to see a hole, a hole in the side. And I did that one time, and it frustrated me. No, you be a little more. I'm trying to be a little more careful. Still got a flat spot that we never picked up somehow. So you have it. Oh, there it is. Never mind. Right in front of me. No wonder. So we'll see if we can't clean that up a little bit. Well, so a little there. Okay. I just get the idea. It's relatively simple. The spindle turning. From here, you would sand it. And then be ready to start finishing it. We'll just run some sandpaper over it.
I do like that shape. I've got a Persian style.
Oh, what shape?
Persian.
Okay, I like that. I try to go through most of the grits on the paper, just because that's what you're supposed to do. I would have liked to have made that a little bigger, but other than that, it's ready to finish. You can feel that through 800 it becomes pretty smooth. That's yeah, maple. The block, that one was 2 inches by 2 inches by 5. When I get that back, I will take it off or finish it and cut it off, part it off, and it'll be done. Thank you. A little jig that put together so that it can be stabilize it and work with it, and clean the bottom is a little jam chuck which fits in the hole, hopefully. Yeah. So now when we cut it, it'll be stabilized a little better and won't flying off somewhere. Oh, we'll finish it first. Put a 1 coat on it. Use a lot of different things. I like Pens Plus, which is Doctor's Wood Shop. It's a good friction finish, and I just like the way it works on things like this. If you've ever seen, can't think of his name, the doctor of Doctor's Wood Shop, when he does demos, his shirt has a line of juice right down the front of him. He's been at SWAT a couple, 3 years. I haven't seen him for a couple of years, but has a good product. There was one other thing I failed to do, and we'll do it now. On the inside, where the tube goes in, you cut a little notch. Not a notch. Oh, it could be a notch straight in and like that, a step, or it can be tapered, mainly so that the tube doesn't show above the top of the top. And so we'll put that in here real quick. You can use any tool you want that you feel comfortable in cutting with. I have 2 tools that I like. One of them is Easy Wood pointing tool. It works real good for it. Or I've got a tenoning tool to cut the dovetail, and I use that at an angle going in, and it makes a nice step as well. So we'll use probably this one because of that. I usually run it in with this flat against the hole, and then this bottoms it out to make a square ledge in there. I changed plans. I put a taper because the wood on this is a little bit too thin. Normally I take the tenon down to about maybe 1/4 of an inch and then cut it with a pull saw, Japanese pull saw, which works great. Handiest little bowl, spindle, everything cut off tool that I've seen. And it leaves a pretty clean little bottom, except for, now then, to fix that, the second use for the jam chuck. Right. It can be sanded better, but that's ta-da. Yeah. Well, there, ta-da. Those are the Valentine flowers I wear in Herb. But here, well, I haven't finished the bottom, but that's just a matter of rubbing some finish and a little more sanding. But that took what?
So you keep it on that jig that you've got to stay at the bottom of that?
You could, yeah. Depending on how tight it is. This will loosen up over time because you're rubbing it, and it's going to change. I found that when it tightens, it gets real loose. I took it and turned it upside down in a glass of water, and it's like a tree. All the water went up there and made it bigger. Except it made it too big. I turned it. It was that big. It's a piece of scrap wood I had, so I turned it around. Anyway, the water, if the water got in there too much, you could always put it in the microwave for 10 seconds and most of the water would be gone. But this, pretty good. Okay, I'm going to ask a question for Jim. Is how many would be willing to make some of these for SWAT? I mean, it'd be your own wood, obviously, and whatever. But I've got enough tubes. If you make them, I'll furnish the tubes.
When y'all make them for SWAT, put your
I sanded both joints. Put glue on them, wood glue. This still had the bottom on, so I put it in there with a pointy and put it up in there and left it overnight. Started drilling, and I got obviously somewhere in that, and all of a sudden this started spinning on the drill bit. So what I did is I used a Dremel and went around all the way around the hole, putting little holes on both sides, this piece and this piece, which got glue down in there, and the glue this way and down in the holes gave it a lot more, and it drilled like it should. But it's a matter of giving it more, like sanding a tube and a pin. You sand it to give it more grip for the. So what I did is I gave it more grip with.
So where, you say you drill it 3.5 inches, this is 3.5? Where does 3.5 end up from?
I don't know,
Back in there where you left,
about there. It's a little further deeper than this.
so you put a 10 in it.
Well, that was the other thing I did. I hadn't finished. Is I put a dowel and glued that in, which held it together, and I drilled through the dowel, and everything stayed together.
You drilled a dowel away?
Yeah, because it was that far, about that long, and so but the tube had to come down this far, so I had to have a hole. So I drilled through the dowel that was holding it together. That plus the fixed up joint. Clear?
Yeah.
It works neat. I hadn't thought about it until one day I was ready to give it up. It became firewood almost. But it became one of the prettiest ones I think I made. This is my nickel Coke bottle. I don't know how many remember Coke bottles when they were that small and cost a nickel. I remember getting those, and I started to play with it, and it matched the shape. Thank you all, most of you.